Hello, wonderful Slumber Party listeners. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome back. I am very, very excited today because I have such a talented, such a funny, and such a wonderful, kind soul of a guest. Somebody that I met through my gay boyfriend when they were on tour together in Aladdin. She played Jasmine. Have you ever heard of the role of Jasmine in Aladdin? On Broadway and on tour. She also originated the role of Alyssa Green in The Prom on Broadway, and she was recently seen in Fly at La Jolla. Ever heard of San Diego? Please welcome to the stage Isabelle McCalla. Boop, 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 boop,
What's
boop.
up?
Loaded
Hi, bunnies.
question.
Thank you for having me.
I love that you say buddies. When we came to see you in the Prom afterwards, I was so starstruck. I was like, oh my God. I was like, look at her up there on that Broadway stage killing it. And then we saw you afterwards and be like, hi, buddies. I was like, I feel so special and so cool right now.
Oh, I'm so glad. I mean, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. Except that
Do any of us in this loaded
no,
world?
I feel like my brain has just completely lost the thread of every conversation I ever get in. But point being, yeah, like on stage is one thing, but I love reconnecting with old friends and making that the important bit, not the accolades and tell me how good I am, that kind of
The
thing.
important bit for me is the Christmas present you got me when you were on tour in, I want to say 2017 or 28,
Uh-huh.
2018.
20
We
Oh, I
barely
don't
we
No,
barely knew each
2017.
other
Mm-mm.
at that point because you had been doing the tour with Michael, but when I was visiting my gay boyfriend, I would mostly just hang out with him and not hang out with you guys that much. And then you were having like a little cast Christmas party and you very
Yeah.
all graciously invited me. Do you remember what you got me?
Socks. Which ones did I get you? I don't remember which ones I gave to you.
I'm pretty sure they had little hamburgers on them.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And you were like, I don't really know you that well, but I figured who doesn't like socks?
Yeah.
And burgers. And you were right. And you know
Yeah.
what? I wear them all the time.
Amazing. I'm so happy. I'm thrilled that it is a useful gift. I was actually just thinking about this and talking about this earlier today. I think socks are the great equalizer. I mean, like, it's everybody always talks about, when you're a kid, you joke and you're like, I don't want to get socks for Christmas. It's boring. But like, as I've gotten older, I genuinely get so stoked when I see a new pair of socks in my stocking. So like I wanted to spread that love and joy with you all.
You really did. You really did. This year I got a pair of fuzzy socks and it's like
Mm,
especially in this hellhole we're living in where you like
mhm.
can't leave your house. What a nice little joy is to put on a little bit of something comfy on your feet.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really, really lovely and literally warming, heartwarming and foot warming. And I'm wearing
Literally
fuzzy socks
warming.
right now. They're
Oh
really
my God, look at them
lovely.
go.
Yeah.
How loaded question. How are
Yes.
you?
How much time do we have? Are you my therapist now? Is this what's going
Yes.
on? No.
Yes, I am.
Great. So today is January 7th, which yesterday was the season finale of America,
Hmm.
and my brain is exhausted. I am exhausted. I feel like I didn't drink anything yesterday, and yet I feel like so emotionally hungover, so tired, not surprised whatsoever. I'm obviously talking about the domestic terrorists storming the Capitol building yesterday, and our democracy being
I'm
just like
glad you
shred.
said I'm glad you said what it was because it's great that you said January 7th, but this will probably come out in like a couple in 2 weeks. And
Right.
who
That's
knows
what I
what
figured.
fucking shitstorm we will
Right?
have experienced.
Like,
People are gonna be like January 7th, January 7th. Oh, that was the first
right.
of like I hate to put it out into the universe, but likely many insane things that are going to happen in 2021 because
God,
this
I hope not. I
is
know.
crazy.
Invoke the 25th. I hope when this comes out, A, I
Get
hope
him
Biden's
the
sworn in, but like,
fuck out of there.
get him the. get him
Get him
out.
out of here. You
Get him
get
out.
out of here.
I like flames on the side of my face, breathing, heaving. I get so, I mean, him, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Mitch McConnell. I mean, Mitch McConnell, he was the, what kind of world are we living in where Mitch McConnell is the voice of reason? He said
Not
in
a
his
good one.
statement, not a good one, never a good one. Like, and don't get me wrong, I do not forgive him for anything because I think he's still evil as all hell. However, at least he said trying to overturn this election would end in a death spiral of democracy, which I appreciated, even though I still hate his guts. So I am feeling, how am I? um, I'm angry. I am not surprised. I'm saddened. I don't have much remorse or love for those who voted for Trump, who voted for his supporters and enabled him, who have perpetuated these conspiracy theories. Um, and because we're unemployed, as it is a pandemic, and we are I mean, most of us are unemployed and just sitting in our fuzzy socks in our rooms.
Mhm.
Um, that's all I can think about because we are directly affected by the government and their policies, and anyone who thinks differently is very ignorant. And I'm losing patience. And I don't want to, but I am.
I don't blame you. I don't think
And
anyone can blame you at this point.
yeah,
And isn't it
yeah.
crazy that it's crazy to think that we once lived in a world where you could even say that, oh, politics doesn't really affect me. Like,
Yeah,
this is,
truly.
this has deeply affected us forever, for a long time. But I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
our generation is really seeing the effects hardcore right now. And I mean, every person of color in America is deeply seeing the effects, and what kind of like horrible shitstorm it is to see white people just traipse through the Capitol building with no
Yeah.
repercussions.
No repercussions, no sort of planning ahead of time. Apparently, Muriel Bowser, the DC mayor, had asked for National Guard to come in. Yes, like 2 days before. She was the one who was like, "Guys, we
No.
really need to." Yeah, she was. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I have to double check my sources there, but I was listening to a pod. I think it was a Daily that was talking about um, that she had asked for backup before. And the thing is, like, the fact that like the Trump administration does, I mean, obviously it's a group of white supremacists, but they don't recognize that as a threat. I mean, it's so indicative. It was just white supremacy on display, running rampant in all its fuckery.
Yeah.
So I, it's very scary and dangerous and not shocking whatsoever as a person of color in this world. Or if you were a woke human who is trying to pay attention to what is going on, because this is like the causality is very clear.
It's very
So
clear. And I think
yeah.
I'm glad that you're sharing this, and I know that this sucks and is painful, but I really hope anyone listening to this podcast, welcome Broadway listeners. We
Yeah,
want we want
happy
Broadway.
slumber party.
Happy slumber party indeed. We
Oh
get deep at
god,
the slumber party and it's
we
good,
do.
but I think it's important because the world will reopen and we can't wait for that to happen, thank God. But when it does, we have to
Mhm.
be armed with this kind of knowledge of, like as you said, for the non-woke white people out there, you gotta listen. Like I have to listen. We all, even as someone who hopefully identifies as a woke white person, like we
Mhm.
have to keep having these conversations and figure it the fuck out, because this is such a snowball effect, and I really do think it deeply affects every single side of our lives. Like Izzy was saying, we're unemployed. We want to get back on the stage and entertain you and make you feel
Yeah.
good. And we don't want to be having these conversations. We don't want
No.
to, like, I want to talk to Izzy about what is her favorite YouTube video. But right
Yeah.
now we're like, so I mean, I will admit I just spent the last like 3 hours kind of walking around to hype myself up for this conversation because I've been deeply depressed.
I
It's just,
understand.
yeah, it's
But
tough.
I think that's important and that's good I don't want you to be depressed. I don't want anybody to be depressed, but I think we have a sensitivity problem and we need to, it's good that we feel all of this very deeply and viscerally and understand the pain and the suffer. I mean, it's just like this is who we've always been. That's why it's not, it's a lie when people are saying this is not the America that we are, that we know. It's like, no, it is, because we have to accept all of it. It's not just the good stuff. You can't just erase a part of your history. You can't erase a part of your identity. I think, like, I mean, that's something I've been exploring within myself spiritually, is like celebrating multiplicity, right? And like the duality, the fact that we exist in multitudes, that we are not a monolith, that we can feel things differently and we can act differently from day to day, but all those versions of ourselves are still ourselves. So like we don't get a free pass, and it's on all of us. We are all complicit in this. We all partake in the society. So how are we going to move forward? And I'm not at that moving forward stage yet, clearly, because I'm still talking about the, I mean, it just happened for us, but I
We're
mean,
so hungover still and so raw from it. You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
heal something that is still in shock from the pain. Like,
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
we still, and
Yeah,
I'm glad you said that about feeling it. And I agree. I mean, who wants people to be depressed? And no one, but we do want all of us to feel this, because especially in a time when so many people are numbing right now,
yeah,
because it's a lot of our only escape from just these four walls in our apartments, unless you're a gay guy who wanted to go to Puerto Vallarta and absolutely live your New Year's Eve
oh my
dreams.
god, the dragging that happened. Oh,
Wait, okay, I'm gonna throw an absolute exclusive story out at you right now, and I may have to cut it, but I want to tell you because
oh my god,
this is
please
also
tell me.
contributing to my major depression. So there's everything going out of the world in the news, which has been horrible,
Right.
and that news broke about a half an hour before I had to do a comedy bit on two of my heroes' podcast.
No.
Are you familiar with Alaska and Willem from Drag Race?
Yes, I am.
I was asked to go on their podcast yesterday and pretend to be the Instagram handle of Gays Over COVID. Have you seen that?
Yes, I
For those of you who don't know what this is, it's like someone is exposing
have.
all of the gay, mostly white gay guys who are giving no fucks about COVID and just hanging out with each other and not wearing masks and super spreading. And there's a lot of debate around whether this is good for any community or whether it's virtue signaling or whether it is accountability or it's shaming and
Right.
if it's actually going to help people change their minds. There's a lot in there and a lot to debate. I think it's at the very minimum uh, funny that
Yeah.
they are just taking these pic, like, if people are stupid enough to post pictures of themselves partying right now while the rest of
Right.
us are sitting in our homes, then part of me feels like, well, you probably deserve to get dragged. But then the other
Yeah.
part of me is like, well, also I also know these accounts can take things too far and things can get scary and stalkery
Mm,
and weird. So
good point.
all that to say, I went on their podcast. The producer is a friend of mine, and he was like, "Come on, write an SNL weekend update bit and come on, and we're gonna surprise them." I surprised them. They didn't understand what was happening. They thought I was the real person, and I was just doing like a
Oh.
weekend update character bit with a Batman mask on because I was told to hide myself in the shadows, and because it was supposed to be like they weren't supposed to know who I am. Izzy,
Oh
they
no.
were so disturbed. They were like,
Oh my god.
imagine just doing jokes that you've worked really hard on over and over and over again
Oh
to
no.
failure in front of your
Oh.
heroes. Their
Oh
faces were
no.
like, what is happening?
Oh, Tim.
It was, I
Oh.
ended it by apologizing. I was like, I'm so
Oh.
sorry. I was
Did
like, I'm
somebody
so sorry.
ever tell him it was supposed to be a joke, like that you weren't the guy?
The producer and I both apologized, and he was like, I don't think this really went how we wanted it to go. And at the end they were like, oh, it's a bit. Oh, we thought you were the real person. We were so confused. But imagine doing a bit in front of somebody
Oh
and just
my
having it like
God.
bomb over and over and over.
Oh, that just hurts my soul so deeply. I'm so
No.
sorry. How long was this bit, too? Like, how long did you have to feel this suffering?
Okay, so I would say I wrote a full page of jokes and then
Okay.
it got cut down to about a quarter of a page for the bit, which
Okay.
was probably 5 minutes. But in the moment, it was going so badly that I cut it to probably half of what it was.
Right. Oh my God. Oh God. Are they going to air it?
I don't know. I asked them
Oh
not
no.
to. And the producer was like, well, we'll see if we can salvage it. And I was like,
Oh.
okay.
Oh no. You know what's going to happen though? You are going to meet Alaska and Willem at some party down the road, and you're going to be like yakking it up, and you will harken back to the time and be like, hey, remember that time I wore a Batman mask and completely disturbed you both?
And they will be
But look
like,
at me
girl, yes, we do. They were so gracious. They were so nice. Even
now. So
like,
good.
it was just kind of like a perfect storm of bad things happening. Like, no one is really to blame other than maybe me for not seeing that the ship was sinking and not, which also happened in Puerto Vallarta. Shout out to the sinking ship. I,
Callback joke.
I think I was really nervous. Callback joke. I think I was really nervous in front of them, and so I was like speeding
Yeah.
through the jokes, and it just I could have
Oh.
stopped and recognized that they didn't understand that it was a bit and explained that, and then kept going. So I do think this
Right.
is very much on me,
Oh.
but yeah, we'll laugh about it one day. But also,
Yeah.
it was literally I was like just looking at the news, and it was like, oh, white supremacist terrorists, they weren't, the news wasn't saying that, but should have been, are storming the Capitol building. And then I started on their Zoom call with them
Oh
without them
God.
knowing I was there. And then I surprised them after we'd all just seen like trauma being inflicted
Oh
upon the
God.
nation. So they were not in the mood. I was not in the mood. It was bad.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Okay. That's you came out on the other side.
I'm still kicking,
You've
you
lived this,
know?
you're still kicking.
I lived to see
You're
another day.
still here.
I'm still here.
Look. Oh God. Oh man. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you
So
for
great.
letting me
Such
share that.
oh
This is
my
the
God,
first
of
time I've
course.
laughed about it. I've shared it with like three
Oh
close
good.
friends, and there was mostly tears. But this now I'm
Yeah.
feeling.
I'm so sorry. That's a good thing. Like time can heal. It's funny. I was with my friend Ellie, and we were having a good night, let's say, and we were playing, not sexually, I mean otherwise. Um, we were doing a
Board games,
puzzle,
not sex. Yep,
board
there it
games.
is.
Yes, exactly. We were doing a puzzle and watching this. We were watching CNN, and we got to the point of the night where we were just like fully laughing at the fuckery and just I mean, we were watching the point where they were voting aye and nay, and oh, I didn't realize because it was the first time I'd actually ever watched a vote happen in Congress that when they ask if there are any objections and there are none, they say hearing none. But I didn't hear hearing none. I heard hearing aye. And I was like, what's hearing aye? I thought it was like this like charge. So every time they started saying, it'd be like, hearing aye. And it was like a drinking thing. Hearing aye. And just like, and then she stopped and she was like, Izzy, we are also still in a pandemic, which I forgot.
I
Like I
know.
forgot that we are in the midst of a global pandemic.
You have trauma sandwiched on top of your other
Oh
trauma
yeah.
to make you forget that's trauma in
You
the middle.
truly. And then at some point all you can do is laugh. I just that's literally all you can do. So
It
yeah.
really is so
Hearing
true.
eye.
Here and I.
Take it with you.
My gay bunny told me that you are a puzzle person.
I
He
am
told
a
me that you
puzzle
love
person.
puzzles. Were you a puzzle person in like at slumber parties growing up? Where did this come from?
I think it came from like my family growing up. Like we were big on puzzles, and like usually on like holidays or birthdays, we would do a puzzle as a family, like sitting around the table and Christmas
Cute.
Day or New Year's Day. Yeah, it was fun. And my brain really likes them, and it feels so satisfying when you get a piece right in the spot. And then there's the extra exhilaration where you pick up a piece and it's like your body knows exactly where it goes. And without like much looking, you just, whoop, and you're like, whoa, what spirit overtook my body here and just made this magic happen. So it's a really lovely experience for me. And when we were in Chicago doing the Aladdin tour, I had this beautiful big dressing room at the base of the staircase in the Cadillac Theater. And my way of getting people to talk to me was I would have my door open and I'd have a puzzle table in the center of it. And so people would come in like on breaks, before half hour, at half hour, and I'd always have a puzzle going. And it was usually like 1,000 pieces or 2,000 pieces. And it was so fun because it became this like cast bonding experience. One time, our stage manager stole like 25 pieces and put it in his envelope, and I in this envelope in his desk, and I was livid.
To prank you?
He had, yes, to prank me. There were a lot of pranks that went on, which I loved desperately. I wasn't mad, but I mean, I was a little irritated. But yeah, it was part of the fun. I don't remember how he. I think I got to a point where I was like, "Where the fuck are these pieces?" And he heard me saying that, and was like, and just like shook the envelope of pieces at me. He was like, "I thought you'd come looking for them," and I'd be like, "How would I know that you were the one to steal them, Mister Stage Manager,
How
who's
would I
supposed to
know?
be keeping everything together?"
Talk about making someone feel paranoid. How was I supposed to know that someone?
Yeah,
My first instinct was not. Someone probably came in here and fucking
yeah,
stole
truly.
these
The leaps you have to go to in your brain,
pieces.
like, ah, yes, this is the
unless it,
correct assumption.
unless it was me, because that is kind of what I always do. I'm like, where
Yeah.
the fuck are my keys, Michael? You took
Yeah.
my keys, and then he's
Yeah.
like, they're in your other pants pocket, you asshole.
Right. But then sometimes there would be like a note that'd be like, haha, looking for something. And then I'd be like, and then you'd have to figure out who it was that took our prank. Yeah, I left my door open a lot. I made myself vulnerable. That's fair. That's fair. But anyway, I love puzzles. It's a healing community bonding experience for me.
I know that I would love to be at a slumber party with you right now and doing some puzzles. We
I would
bought,
love to do that.
wouldn't that be so fun? I am really bad at them. I'm very impatient and I don't. We got a puzzle on Christmas because there's nothing else to do. So we went to Rite Aid
Right?
and got a puzzle and we made it about 20 minutes into this puzzle. And I said, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. And then we put it away. I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. So we
No,
played
no,
Battleship
absolutely not.
instead.
Oh, I've actually never played Battleship. I've done the puzzle Battleship, the one where you write it out, but I haven't played the board game.
Oh, you gotta play. It's one of the greatest
I
pastimes.
do.
It's
I
really
definitely
fun.
do. I
My
do love games.
mother,
Like, oh,
oh yeah, go ahead. What games do you love?
okay, yeah. No, it's okay. Jenga is a big one. I love. Um, I used to be Clue. Clue is a big one in our family too. It's a lot of mystery solving things. I'm seeing a theme here
I
in my
love
own life.
mystery solving. Do you like mystery solving TV or movies?
Yes, I do.
Did
I
you watch The
love it.
Flight
Like,
Attendant?
no, not yet. I need to tell good. I need to watch it.
It's so good.
Okay,
It's
okay,
so
we'll
good.
do.
I think we watched it in like
Okay,
24 hours.
amazing.
That and The Undoing. Did you watch The Undoing?
I watched The Undoing. That was good. It was really good.
That
It's
was good.
always the fucking husband. Sorry if I
I
spoiler alert.
love when I love when she said that. Lily Rabe, one of
So
our
good.
greatest American theater actresses, it's always
Oh,
the fucking husband.
she's amazing. I love
So
her.
good. So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you American Horror Story person?
I stopped after Roanoke, which
Oh,
was I loved that season, but
oh really?
yeah, it took me a while.
I
I
stopped at the
stopped.
Lady Gaga one. I was like, I think that's gonna be enough for me.
Was
But
that the hotel one?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I watched like the first episode of it and I was like, I'm really missing Ms. Jessica Lange. I think I'm gonna step
Yeah.
off.
I mean, that was like
Yeah.
the reason to watch it for so long, was that she's just
So
everything.
everything. I'm listening to Patty LaPone's audiobook right now. and she
Oh
calls
my God,
Jessica
that must be
Lange
amazing.
Jessie. And it feels so good in every part of my body. I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
call her
I love
Jessie,
that.
you besties. I I love Patty LaFontaine so much. It's really, this book is really bringing me a lot of
I
joy. And
I think I read that book. What's it called again?
I
Patty
forget what it's
LaFone.
called. It's her memoir. It's like the only
Yeah, it's
book.
her memoir. Yeah, it's the only one. I read that. I actually, yeah, Beth Level name drop. She let me borrow her copy of it. She was like, "This is juicy AF," and so I read it, and I lived for it.
That is so good. Can I tell you
Yeah,
my Beth Level story?
please,
I'm naturally deeply obsessed with her, as everyone
naturally.
should be. And I saw her in Drowsy Chaperone by myself when I was like probably 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up to her at the stage door and had her sign my program. And I said something so asinine, like one of those things that's just like you're like, oh, if you were only a little older, you'd know better. I said
Right.
something like I was like trying to be cool, and I was like, so you are so amazing. Is it fun every night, or do you get like really bored? And she goes, she looked at me and she goes, you know what? Not every show is fun every night, but this show, I pinch myself every single time I go on
Oh,
stage. I never want it to end. And I like love that so much. And like I was like, wow, you really can do this career and really love it, is like what I took
yeah.
with me for a long time. And then I was doing, funny thing happened on the way to the Forum in
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut, and she was doing and she was friends with someone who was in the cast, and they were doing Drowsy Chaperone. So she came to see Drowsy and like say hi to her friend in our cast. And he introduced me to her, and I told her that story, and she looked me right in the eyes and she goes, damn, I'm good. That's a great line.
That's amazing. And she is. She's right. And even in that, like, damn, I'm good. That response is, damn, she's good. Very
Damn,
funny.
she's good. Could we talk about comedy on Broadway for a moment?
Yeah, please, let's go in.
I talk about this a lot on this podcast, but I rarely see a show that like really makes me laugh, laugh, laugh. And the Prom really
Oh,
had me going.
it had me going too, and that was really unprofessional of me. I would be like on stage, fully cackling. I had to at one
Cackling.
point cackling mainly because of Brooks Ashmanskas. That
I mean,
motherfucker.
what a fucking dream.
Oh, he's a dream. But the PTA scene was always the hardest to get through because it was the only time in the show, besides the finale, that like literally all of us were on stage at once. And it was a free for all because it was Beth's number, and then they had the like the core four had like their bits that they would do. Caitlin had her things that we would do, but the rest of us that were in the bleachers, we were having our own stories. We had like the conversations that would happen, the ad libs that would go. I mean, like, and the thing is that cast, everybody was funny in that cast, and it was so difficult to keep a straight face. All I like literally my have the worst poker face, and I had to be like my character had to be the most horrified at this display. So
Yeah.
I would literally be like when I like try to swallow a laugh, I'm like there was one time I literally had to my friend Fernell, who was sitting next to me, I grabbed his shoulders and put him in front of my face because I could not stop laughing. Just so inappropriate.
They're
It's
all
terrible.
so good. You were so great in it.
But
Brooks, I will never
oh,
forget seeing Brooks in what was that one with the tomatoes? That
something
musical.
rotten.
Yes, something
Uh,
rotten. And he played like such a like closeted gay femme hating character.
yeah.
And I will never forget him saying like something like really homophobic and then immediately checking his nails and storming off stage. It was like the funny like, like he said something like just like really bigoted, and then immediate like femme fag fag. Right? It was like the way that he shimmy walked off stage was like It's so crazy because
Oh.
timing is not really something you can teach in like a
Mm-mm.
college theater program. It just is like, to me it's like turnout of for a dancer. It's like you either
Yeah.
have this or you don't.
Hmm.
And to see, we've been watching a lot of Friends and we've been dissecting like why, while Friends has like a lot of it that's very problematic in
Yeah.
2021, there is undeniable chemistry between those actors, and we're like, why does
Yes.
this show really just work so well? And that's how I felt
Yeah.
watching The Prom. It was like they assembled this cast of you guys that just had this chemistry and comedic understanding together.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, it was like what a masterclass every day. I had the luxury of not being funny in that show, so I could sit back and watch the geniuses at work. And yes, I totally agree with you. Timing cannot be taught. But what I did learn from them was presence and
Mm,
the
mm,
way to listen to an audience, to listen to each other, to go with the flow. I mean, they didn't take themselves seriously whatsoever. They took the job seriously, but not themselves. So when like things
mm,
went wrong, they made it work for them. And that
mm-hmm.
was so amazing to watch. And I loved, I think that you're right that the chemistry between the cast was incredible. And there's a trust. There's a trust that happens when you have actors that are comparable to you that like that they, I mean, those, especially those main four, they can like they're firing on all cylinders. They know exactly how each other works, back and forth. The repartee was insane, both on and off stage. Um, and like, I mean, it was like magic. It was magic every day, and I learned so much from being around that comedy genius. And I feel like I got really funny after that show. Like in my daily life, I gained confidence in that show that
Ah,
I didn't have in myself beforehand. And I feel like I just like kind of like absorbed some of it through osmosis. But then I get around them and I'm like, ah, I just want to hear you guys make jokes because you're so funny, and I just don't. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, maybe it's not that it can be taught, it has to be absorbed. You have to like
yeah,
be immersed in it to to feel it out. Cuz that's so true. Like
yeah,
there are several times when I've been hanging out with people who are really funny where the whole rest of the day I'm like, am I a, a king of singers? Am I like a,
and you're on fire some days, and you're
you're
like,
on fire. Yeah, you're like, oh, oh, okay, but it's
oh,
because that
oh,
kind of energy is infectious, and yeah, it can be like internalized. Honestly, like
mm-hmm,
you're like, yeah, let me. So much of it for me is like what you said about them not being self-serious, leading
yeah,
as people, leading with fun in your life, and just deciding that anything that gets thrown at you, you are able to ping pong back is
right.
such a wonderful way, I think, to live your life. If
It is because yeah, because sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, no, no,
Um,
go.
because what happens when you do that is that like you're not in your head, you're not thinking about how does this come off, how am I, you're not analyzing anymore, you're just responding. And
Mm,
the more that's, I mean, obviously the goal of like all of us actors is just to try to be as present as possible and in the moment as possible, and that's really difficult to sustain, I think, which is another reason why I love theater, is because in 8 shows you can be shitty one night, fantastic the next, and mediocre the third day. Like it doesn't give you license to be shitty, but like it gives you the opportunity to try again and learn from and evolve. And I fucking love that about our jobs. Um,
that is, yeah, that's
yeah.
really well put. And I love what you said about confidence because it can, that is the huge part of comedy. When people ask, like, should I be taking a UCB class or a stand up
Mm,
class? I, there's the part of it that I'm like, there's some of this that can't really be taught. Like, you are either funny in your life. Like, do people tell you that you're funny? Then I think you
right.
should, this is, might be something you should go for. But the thing that can be taught, and I think any actor can learn from those like improv or comedy classes, is what you said about confidence. That's what comedy is. And that's why I
Hmm.
bombed so badly yesterday because I was so nervous around these. Like, I have seen Alaska make me really laugh, like
Hmm.
really, really laugh. So to be like looking at someone in the eyes, I lost that confidence. Like I could have turned that around. And that's what specifically all of them, but in the many shows I've seen Brooks and Beth in, it's like,
Mhm.
wow, you really don't sit back on your heels ever. You're on your toes.
Mm-mm.
You're leaning
Mhm.
forward toward the audience like, yeah, you're going to laugh.
Yeah,
It's like that, it's straight up confidence. It's not
it
backing away from a
is.
line. It's having the ability to take a huge fucking swing and make a huge
Mhm.
choice and just wait for it. And if it doesn't come, you wait longer.
Right. Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's
It's
really
unbelievable.
vulnerable. Yeah.
So vulnerable. It's horrifying,
It's
but
horrifying.
it's amazing when it works. I mean, and like you are an incredibly funny person, stand-up comedian, comic, period. And like that's I think important. I love that you shared the story of you bombing because we all bomb. We all fail. Like, and there's something to be said for like overconfidence too, because there have been times when I'm like, oh, I know how this joke's gonna go because I've thought this through. And then I like amp it out and it's just like, no. And then I just be like, okay, I'm gonna go fuck off then. Cool.
I'm gonna go
Just
fuck right off. Yeah.
I'm gonna
The
go fuck right
key,
off.
the key to that, I think, is this is wow, really staying on theme for this whole podcast. Sensitivity. We
Mm,
are sensitive people, like we were talking about earlier with the horrible shit going on in the world. We have to feel it. And I think what I'm trying to learn right now is I have to feel through this. I cried a lot yesterday. I've been really depressed today. Now I'm talking about it with a really lovely, easy person to talk to, and I am feeling through it and I'm feeling better. And I'm feeling like, okay, I could get back up and do this again. If they called me and asked me to try again yesterday, I would have been like, fuck no, it's never
right.
gonna happen. But now today, I think I would consider it, and
Yeah.
that's what it's about. It's about taking those blows. Patty LuPone says you learn the most
Mm,
from failure.
yep. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I actually just finished Ali Wong's book, Dear Girls, and she talks about how like you're a stand-up comic when you bomb, you get off and you want to try again. Like that's and but you everybody has to fail. Like she talks about like everybody should bomb multiple times in front of multiple people in order to because I mean I have so much respect for you in that stand up world because that is a different beast entirely. I mean,
It's not fun, I'll tell you that.
it's I mean it's like yeah.
you you first of all, I thought you were very funny in the prom and very sweet
Oh, thank you.
and really so wonderful to see two female leads in a gay relationship in a show. Like it
Yeah.
was just, oh man, it was like really really wonderful. And my intention in this next statement is not to shade any other show, but to point out why I love the prom so much. I love Fun Home as well. Like that was a wonderful, awesome, beautiful piece. But it is so there's something so special about watching gay characters have fun.
Yes.
And yes, there's a huge part of your storyline specifically that was about coming out, but it was handled with such grace and such beauty, and still you got to have so much fun. Like you got a love song about dancing.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
simple and so true. It's like I give so much to the writers and I think they're brilliant and wonderful and I love there's just too much trauma porn out there for or for
Yeah.
the gay narratives and that's okay but like we need more stories of love stories going right where nothing devastating happens to these characters. You know what I mean? Gay people need to see gay people succeed in order to feel like they're going to be
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, like that was a gift to be able to end on a positive every day. Um, and give
And
hope, just like give hope and like happiness, joy to people.
the
It's
pressure taken off your queer character of, oh, there's other queer characters on this in this story. Like
right,
there can be
right,
a coming out story if other people have other things going on, other queer characters have other things going on in their
absolutely.
lives.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's so important to me to see queer characters having fun. like
Yeah, it's just
like I
so
can't,
much fun.
how much have you and I laughed in the last 40 minutes of this like Zoom call? Like we have fun. Like
Yeah,
there is joy to be had in this world. It's not
yeah,
trauma. We can recognize, feel through
right.
the trauma, and then figure out how we can tell that story. And sometimes I think that's like the best kind of movie, TV show, or book is when something is really horrifically traumatic, but someone has found a way to put such a different spin on it, whether it's like suspense or
Yeah,
comedy or
I I totally agree with you 100% because like I mean, what is there to fight for if, what is that suffering worth? We got to have something to fight for. We've got to push that narrative of like this is why we protest. This is why we stand up. This is why we feel that despair because we know that like we all should feel unadulterated joy and fun whenever and wherever we can. And that's not a crime. It is just the purest part of being human, and the best part of being human is like the connection and the fun.
the
So
fun, which brings me
the
to my
fun.
favorite segment of this podcast. Wait, let's have fun.
Let's have
Let's
fun.
have fun. In this segment, we're going to play slumber party games. But before we do that,
Yes.
I want to know, what YouTube video would you put on if we were
Okay.
at a slumber party together? What do you, Izzy,
Okay.
want to watch with me or show me?
My I went down a rabbit hole of my favorite YouTube videos. And I am so grateful that I did because it reawakened all of the giddy parts of me. But my go-to that will make me like pee my pants laughing without fail. It's actually not a video, it's this recording of have you seen Orchestra Fail?
No,
It's oh my, should I send the link in the chat
send it to me
because
and
I
tell
need
me everything.
uh, okay, so Orchestra Fail was recorded. It was posted, I don't know, maybe early 2000s, 2006, 7, 11 years ago. So it's posted 11 years ago. And it is it's just, it's a, I think it's like a middle school band or a high, it may be a very terrible high school band. Um, oh, that was a drive folder. I did not mean to share that with you. But
I won't look. I won't look.
that's okay. Oh, geez, Louise. Oh, it's playing in my ear. Okay, I got it. Copy, paste. We'll just snip tuck this in the editing. Okay, so it's like a middle school, a high school, maybe elementary school. I would hope it'd be elementary school, and they play the theme too. I think like Odyssey 20. Oh my God, what's that movie? The 20,000 Leagues
Under
Odyssey.
the sea,
Yeah, it's like
something
ba,
like that.
ba, 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 da, that.
Yeah.
It's just so remarkable. It goes so terribly wrong in all it sounds like the state of our world. I will say that.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch
please
it.
do. Please
And
do.
as I'm watching it, I'll give commentary about what I'm seeing because I think
Okay.
it'll play in my ears. Okay. Okay, so far, Izzy has sent me this video. They are,
Hmm.
oh, the trumpet was just a little under, mama. Oh my God.
Wait for it.
I'm gonna try to edit this into the video. This is beautiful. It's, it sounds like elephants being slaughtered. Oh my God, it's so short and so beautiful. It's literally just like it's like
Watching you experience that for the first time gave me so much joy. Oh my God. I hope you spread that far and wide with every single human that you encounter.
that is so good, Izzy. That is really, oh my God. That really got me good. That really got me good, gal. Oh,
I'm so glad. I'm so
oh my
glad.
God. That was you described it perfectly, and then it's still somehow so unexpectedly so much worse than you.
So much worse. Like you don't understand how it could go that wrong. It's like every single person in the orchestra decided to intentionally fuck it up in the most loud and abrasive
Wow.
way. I mean, I feel like they broke through to parallel universes with that cosmic sound. Like unreal. It's really good. It's really
That
good.
is so good. There's nothing better than a good fail, than a
No.
good old fashioned fail. It just because
Yeah.
we all can relate to it. Some of us in front of
Oh.
Alaska and Willem. It's just did you ever watch America's Funniest Home Videos growing up?
Yes. All the time.
I revisited that recently and was like, yeah, there's just something absolutely knock dead hilarious about watching a father get hit in the nuts with a baseball bat. I can
It
watch
feels
it.
good.
It feels good.
It's like justice in a way. It's like fucked. But like it really feeds that part of you that just needs some sort of to thrive off of physical. It's like I don't want to be violent, but I would love to watch other people get hit in the
Mhm,
balls with a baseball
mhm.
bat.
Especially when it's like a tiny
Accidentally.
little kid. Yeah, you're like,
Oh yeah.
this is cute
Oh
in
yeah.
every
Or
way.
oh it is. Or when they I falls. I love falls. People falling is so funny to me.
One of the very first YouTube videos of all time, the grape lady. Did
Oh,
you see
oh,
that?
unbelievable. Unbelievable. So
Oh,
good.
oh, 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 oh. It sounds fake. It sounds
It
fake because
does.
it's so.
Oh.
Oh.
It's so bad. Do you know another one's really good? Have you seen the one where the guy falls out? Not falls out, but like in the roller coaster when he kind of like slips out of his harness a little, the belt, the safety belt.
Oh
He
my
doesn't
God, no.
fall out, but like he slips below the seat, and the person next to him is laughing hysterically while he is screaming bloody murder. He's like, Janice, Janice, I'm stuck. Janice, please, Janice, Janice. And the other person next to him was like, ah! It is unbelievable.
That is
Oh,
terrifying to me
yeah,
and
it
so
is.
funny.
I if you watch it, it's less terrifying because you're like, this person's not going to go anywhere. He'll be fine, and you know that. Um,
He's just freaking
but
out.
yeah, I think if you YouTube Janice, I'm stuck. That one's really good too. That was like an
Oh my
early one.
God.
I remember like going down the rat along with like Charlie Bit Me. It was in that era of like the first YouTube videos
Oh
too.
my God. Did you have growing up a musical theater album that you listened to? Like, were you a theater nerd kid or
Oh,
no?
all the time. I would like sit and like go through them, and they changed based on my age or whatever, but I feel like I had a Cats phase when I was really little. It was the first Broadway show I saw. I made my mom buy the VHS, and I watched it every day for a year. Shit you not. Like I was, and I'd play a different cat every year, so I'd be like training as a swing. I'd be like, today I'm gonna be Electra,
It's a
today I'm gonna
swing.
be Ballerina, today I'm gonna be Demeter, like I would just be a different cat and pretend like I could dance it. Meanwhile, like I was like, I would tell people, I was like, I know all the dances, cats. I know all the parts. I can do everything. And I didn't know shit. I was like 7 years old, staring and trying. I was so bad, Tim. I would make my friends at recess play cats.
What?
Yeah. I directed them as cats, and I would tell them they were doing things bad or good. Oh God, I was such a little shit.
You told
Um,
them if they were doing bad or good.
I did. I
Isabella
did.
is bad. I'm gonna
Yeah, I'd
need
be
you
like,
to say.
Cassandra, no, Cassandra, your entrance, got da da da. I need to hold it here. I can't have it this way. It needs to be here, flat, hieroglyphic. I didn't say hieroglyphic. I don't know that word, but I mean, I have a vivid memory of that, of like my poor friends. Were they my friends? Do they probably like talk behind my back about how ridiculous I was, but yeah, I've since calmed down a little bit. I don't force my friends to play dress up with me and act in my shows, but I did for a
Imagine,
while.
imagine if on the Aladdin tour you were like, "Put the fucking puzzle away. We're doing cats. Get into the splits now. Someone,
Yeah.
I
Oh
need
God.
a Rumple
I need
teaser
it now. Well,
now."
it's actually funny. There is a part of me that still does that because we were when we were doing Fly at La Jolla Playhouse when everything shut down. And the day it shut down, we had a party, ooh, which we shouldn't have, but we didn't realize how bad it was
No
yet.
one knew then, yeah.
Nobody knew. And we did, because we didn't get to do another show, we decided to pull character names out of a hat, and whatever character you played, you had to play that part. And this was like, we are musical theater nerds. We played each other's roles and walked through the musical numbers of the show and like acted them and laughed and just, and I definitely had a heavy hand in orchestrating that. So I got
That's so fun.
so much joy out of playing, still doing that. But yeah. But anyway, Cats, Wicked. I was a big Wicked girl when I was in seventh grade, as we all are. Drowsy Chaperone was a go-to. Legally Blonde, In the Heights, In the Heights, In the Heights, In the Heights.
Ah, so
That was a
good.
big one for me. Yeah, I love the cast recordings. I did go through a Les Mis phase. I went through a Phantom of the Opera phase too. That was an interesting one. Yeah.
That's unique, I think, for someone who becomes a performer. I feel like Phantom of the Opera is usually
Oh,
pretty specific to like Midwest moms. No
it
offense.
is. Well, it is. But my next door neighbor, Haley, who I would have sleepovers with a lot, was obsessed with the Phantom of the Opera. And I don't even know if it was because of the show or the book. She's one of the most intelligent people I know, and even at a very young age had a much higher understanding for art than I did. Like, she was watching V for Vendetta when she was like 10 years old. I don't even understand. And she would like look at this amazing political drama that we were about to experience, and I'd be like, he's wearing a pretty mask. Um,
Do you know
so
that V for Vendetta is set in 2020 and it's about a virus?
yeah. Oh my god, I didn't
Isn't
realize it
that
was 2020.
crazy? It's set in
I
2020.
watched it this 2020. I watched it this November the 5th.
I
I should have
think I could be,
recognized that.
maybe I'm crazy,
No, I
but
think
it's
you're
definitely
right. I
about a
think you're right.
virus in the
It is.
future.
It is. Oh, I
And it
mean,
was made
that
in
is.
like 2005.
It is. I was watching
It's
and I was
so
like, this is
nuts.
very relevant, and an authoritarian government that takes over.
Yeah.
That's
And basically the Phantom of the Opera. He is just
and
creeping in that basement.
he's creeping in that basement. Anyway, she turned me on to Phantom of the Opera, so I went on that phase and would sing, Christine Daae in my straight tone soprano way.
I love that so much. Also, when you rewatched V for Vendetta, did you clock Natalie Portman's accent as a
Oh,
British
oh, it's horrendous.
person?
It's horrendous.
I love her. This was
She's
really
great.
shocking to my system. I could not believe they were letting that happen. The rest of the cast is British. So it's just like
Yeah.
blaringly obvious. She's like, oh, it's going to be a they for Vandator. I was like, what is going on?
It's quite atrocious, and I love dialects. I love accents, and
Love
I
it.
have a good ear for them. But that was just hysterical. Oh man, that's fun. We're not good at them as an American people. We're generally not good at the accents that much.
We're really not. And we
We're
get a lot of
really.
flack for that. But I will tell you, I did a musical in London like a year and a half ago, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw a lot of shows on the West End of British people doing American accents. And
Oh.
honey,
Oh.
honey, I would say 90% of the shows I saw, these actors think that all Americans are in a Tennessee Williams play at all times.
That's so
Like,
true.
I'm not throwing away my shot. No, I'm not throwing away my shot. I was like, what
Like,
is
are you dueling in a
happening?
saloon? Or
Yeah,
like,
why are you a cowboy? We don't all okay, true. Some of us do talk like that,
this is
but
true.
not even it was like these were like the diphthongs where I was like, okay, I feel a
Oh.
little bit better about being an American actor trying to do accents.
That's true. They're definitely difficult all across the board, but there is something delicious about hearing a just terrible, terrible accent, especially when the intention of the acting is just so good and so
Yeah.
steeped in reality that you're like, oh, I almost bought in. I was so close.
Yeah, it's like watching like an unbelievable dropped in acting performance, but it's
Yeah.
like the wizard and you're like, whoa, whoa. Okay,
Uh,
we gotta
uh, we gotta
we
bring
gotta
it.
mm.
Just try to.
I ask everybody on this podcast, who are your alphabas? Who did you see in Wicked?
Oh my God! I saw this is a specific one. I saw Anna Gasteyer,
Ah,
and
what
she
in
was unbelievable.
right?
I mean, first of all, incredible voice, like whatever, but like the act, she was just giving me Tony Award worthy performance left and right. It was heart wrenching and so
She's
leveled and funny because she's hysterical. But yeah, it was
she's
it was great.
so good. Did you see her in New York or in Chicago?
I saw her in New York.
Oh my god. I saw her in Chicago when I was 18. I was like looking at schools and I was looking at schools in Chicago and I got a ticket to Wicked and I agree completely. I thought she was
Oh,
so good in that role.
yeah.
So
I'm
funny.
so glad you saw her too. Wow, that's
Oh yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah. She was, and it's always so shocking to see like a tried and true TV or movie star who has a legitimate Broadway voice. Like you're like, oh,
Ch-
this isn't
oh,
good for a celebrity. This is straight up good.
straight up brilliant. I mean, like,
Yeah.
whoa. So good. It was I like that was one of my favorite performances I've seen. It was
I
great.
agree. I agree. Can you fucking imagine like what a career her and Nicole Parker just like contributing to two of
Mm.
the most important sketch comedy TV shows in history, and then also being able to sing Alphaba is so insane.
I love it so much. It's so great. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I don't mind if they have the chops, please give it to us.
Give
Please.
it to us.
Give it.
Is there anything else about your slumber parties growing up that you
Yeah. Oh my god.
remember?
Oh my gosh. All the I would have a lot of slumber parties almost every weekend. We'd play Manhunt a lot, which was fun. When I was at my friend Madeline's house, she had brothers, older brothers, and so like their friends would be over all the time, and like at night we would go out and just play Manhunt in the yard, which is ridiculous. But
Where'd you grow
Manhunt was a
up?
big one. Rockland County, New York. So I am from a town called Suffern. Well, I'm not from there, but like I'm from Queens, but like moved to Rockland County. And yeah, it's not the greatest. I'm not a fan, to be completely honest.
Is that Long Island?
But no, it's across the river from Westchester. It's about
Oh, okay.
45 minutes north.
Okay.
There are parts that are great. It's just like politically not my favorite place. However, there are certain people that I've met that are lovely. It breeds good people. You just have to find them in certain pockets.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. But my slumber parties were always fun. Manhunt was a big one. We go on walks. I remember one slumber party. We like have weekends where we would like Friday to Sunday, we'd sleep over each other's houses. And there was one weekend where it was a Sunday, and I was walking with my friends Madeline and Shannon, and we were walking down the street, and I think we were in sixth grade or fifth grade, and we desperately did not want to go to school the next day. So we were like, oh my God, we're going to all plan to be sick, pretend to be sick, stay home, and I am each other the entire day. like literally just be on IM. And so I remember passing around a Coke can, like to share each other's germs to try to get sick. So that, I mean, and like that was the plan that we came up with during our sleepover. Um, and
Not
then we
fair.
all did. We all stayed
Let's
home
get
and
fucking
swindled our
sick.
parents. Let's get fucking
Let's
sick. Like
get
now, why would you
sick.
wish that on yourself? I would never wish that on myself now, but like, yeah, we all swindled our parents into letting us stay home for the day, and we were on IM AOL Instant Messenger the entire day and be like, LOL, OMG, look what we did.
Oh my
That was a
god,
big one.
your teacher at school that day must have just been walking around. If I was that teacher, I'd be like, these bad kids think they're pulling a fast one on me. I got eraser duty for this clique tomorrow. That that you
Oh my
really
God, eraser duty.
eraser duty. Clap those erasers, young ladies. I would have been that is so good. Sorry, you had another one. I interrupted you.
Oh no, it's okay. That was I mean, that was good. We'd watch movies. Forts. I did forts a lot too.
We've never
Loved
talked
making
about forts on
forts.
this podcast, and that's such slumber party culture.
Oh
Fort.
yeah. Forts where you take over an entire room and then you sleep in them. And
Oh yeah.
oh my God, we would like bring chair like different furniture in, and you would have your hair ties that you would use, or rubber bands that you would tie the sheets to make sure they stayed up, and then you bring in a lamp to give lighting, and then blankets, and then your bean bags, and or your teddy bears or whatever, stuffed animals, just to make it homey. And then you like create like a story, a narrative line about like camping in the woods, and a bear comes in, and you got to run from the bear, and one person plays a bear. I was always the bear. I didn't
No.
realize.
Because you were the
I
only one with
do.
the range. The only one with the range who could play.
Yeah, that's what it was. And one final slumber party thing. I have a very every all of my birthday parties would end with in a sleepover where like everybody would come over, but like my five best girlfriends would stay and sleep over. And I kind of always felt a little bit like the odd one out, um, in terms of like what we wanted to talk about and other things. And I vividly remember them coming over, them sleeping over, them talking about. I think this was like seventh grade probably, so we were starting. A lot of my friends were
Ooh,
starting to
hard
kiss
time.
boys and kiss other
Yes.
people. And I was just not interested. I was like, this is so boring to me. I don't want to talk about who's hot or not. And I remember vividly being like, can we talk about something else other than boys? And then pausing, looking at each other and be like, no, and laughing at me. And I remember rolling
No.
over and going to sleep because I was like, I'm bored at my own sleepover.
Oh my God. You know what? Good for seventh grade you for putting up the boundary. You said,
Yeah.
I'm going to say what I want right now. But that is so,
Yeah.
oh, that just sent so many memories in my mind. If that, there's nothing worse than when you say something vulnerable and then your friends look at each other and then laugh. That's tough.
I mean, but I think like everybody's a little shit in middle school and elementary school. So I give them passes because we don't have filters then, and we don't really know how to process our own feelings.
No,
Um
and the insecurity is like running
yeah,
rampant. It's like when you
rampant.
first figure out
Oh,
how to hide stuff about yourself and
yes.
and mask it with something that you think is going to protect you, which usually
Right.
is bullying. But
Right.
like that's what I mean, that's what that time is for like 6th through 8th grade, and like a lot of people's hormones are going crazy.
Mm.
I was like a
Have you watched
really
1015?
Izzy, I'm so deeply obsessed with that show.
Deeply.
Those
Deeply. It got so much right.
it got so much right. It's so it's absolutely so perfect, and good for them for being like, this is the story we want to tell and this is how we're going to do it, because it's so unique and so like niche seeming, I'm sure, to a baby boomer to be like, what, you want to do a deep dive into the racial politics of the Spice Girls? And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, bitch, we do.
Yeah.
And
It's
aim and yeah,
mhm.
go ahead.
It's so
It's,
no, I wanted it's unbelievable. I cut you off when you were about to talk about your own middle school identity and self, and I wanted to hear that. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
oh, I was such a late bloomer. I didn't hit puberty till I was like 16. And I
Oh.
really hated that too. I was like, I don't, and I obviously didn't want to talk about girls, but there was like no way for me to express that. So I just remember as a little queer kid thinking that same feeling that you had, but I didn't say it ever. I would think to myself, I wish sex didn't exist. If sex didn't exist, my life would be
Oh.
so much better. Cause I was like,
Wow.
I was like, I can pass, I can relate, I can figure out so much about this world, but this is the one thing that I know they're never gonna accept. And create, then instead of being like you were at that slumber party, which I so wish I did, but instead of that, I developed this fake persona on top of like this mask of like, okay, well then you have to figure out how to like football and how to like basketball and how to like
Ugh.
play play it their way. And even worse, I like relied on my wit because I was like, I know this is
Mm.
something I have power over everyone with. So I think I I know I did a lot of like really things that I now look back on. I'm like, oh, that was not my best self in any way. But yeah, it's hard to blame that generation. I was before the pandemic was teaching kids that age, and it is really, really heartwarming to see how much they are changing in general. They still have the kids will always have that thing that we're talking about of like
Right.
trying to figure out how to grow up. But one of the kids, one of like the I think a seventh grader in my acting class was sharing his vision dream board, and he said he
Hmm.
started sharing that he hopes that there's less racism in the world. He was like, I'm Mexican, and there's so many people that say horrible things about uh me and my family and people who look like me, and I want that to go away. And then he said, and I've never told anyone this before, but I'm bisexual. And the class stood up and they were like, people started standing and they were like, whatever, whoever you are and whatever you want to express is good and is right, and we're here for you. And then they were like, can we hug, they asked for consent. They were like, can we hug you? And he was like,
Oh
yeah. And
my
he started
God.
crying and they all started they all got in a group and were hugging. And I'm like also fairly certain that this kid was someone on the spectrum, and he wasn't exactly making friends in this class. Like this was
Hmm.
probably like the ninth class that they know each other very well, like 3 hour
Yeah.
classes. Yeah. And this really like his ability to be so honest really opened up this like beautiful friendship and connection with these kids, and the way that they handled it was so, I did nothing. I did literally nothing. I was like ready to step in if someone said or did something that could have been damaging to him, but nobody did. It was like so beautiful.
That is such I that gives me hope. That story really does, because I do feel like hate is taught, love is not. I mean, love isn't like everybody's born with that, and like the fact that those kids who are middle school age were able to embrace this boy and stand up for him and tell him that he was valid and loved and seen and okay, like just that is so wonderful. And I'm so grateful that you shared that story. Thank you for that. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
What an awesome class you've had.
It was really, yeah, I really, really have learned and gotten a lot of joy from this next generation of kids. They're really, I think, really going to help us turn this all around.
Yeah.
Um, I could talk to you for so long, but we do have to end at some
I
point.
guess
We're gonna
so.
do
Yeah.
more slumber party games over on the Patreon. I'm gonna have a little Mary
Yeah,
F
baby.
kill for you and a little would you
Oh, I'm
rather
so
for you.
excited. Come
But
on,
before we
Patreon.
go, where can the people follow you or
The
find you?
people can follow me at, I'm terrible at voguing. The people can follow me at IZZYMCCALLA at Izzy McCalla on Instagram. That's it. That's where I am. Follow my shenanigans there.
Follow
It's
her there. Are you named after Izzy Stevens from Grey's Anatomy?
no, I am not. Absolutely not. But I do share her love of baked goods.
Oh my god. Were
So
you a Grey's person?
no, I was not. And I just actually my roommates are, and I just got into it this pandemic, but then I had to stop because I'm also a hypochondriac and it started
Oh.
triggering like some latent hypochondria. And I was like, nope, can't do it anymore. I stopped after season 6, if you know
Oh,
what that means.
I know exactly what that means. So that's a really good place to stop because it starts to get so crazy. I love that show with my whole heart. I stopped after season 10, Sandra O's last
Okay.
season, but
Right.
let's just say it's a wild ride. It's
I
a wild,
believe it.
wild ride.
Shonda,
um,
you give us a roller coaster.
Shonda really said, she said, "Oh, you thought you knew what could happen in a hospital. Uh,
Oh,
you don't know the
amazing.
half of it." It's so good. And you can follow me at
Amazing.
T Murray06 on all platforms. If you enjoyed this conversation, go ahead and rate, subscribe, and review this podcast. I'd love that so much. And if you want to see more, head on over to the Patreon. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
He used to wet the bed, but now he doesn't. So